This is a video presentation of the notes for Chapter 2, Section 5 in the 7th grade textbook, Solving Equations Containing Integers. So this is more of the same of what we've been doing the last couple days. The only difference is here today is integers, positive numbers and negative numbers. In the past few days, we've really just been dealing with positive numbers and zero. All right, only the right side of that number line. Well, now all of a sudden they're going to get negatives in the mix. But that doesn't change anything. All the rules that we've been using and applying are still going to hold true here. So everything you've heard me say about integers, keep on chugging through with them here. So you're going to keep those variables on the left. And when I say left, remember everything is in relation to the equal sign. So when I say to the left, I mean the variable has to be on the left side of the equal sign. Numbers are all going to end up getting kicked to the right side of the equal sign. If we need to, we can invert the sides, flip the two sides around, the left and the right side. Generally, we do that when we want to get that variable on the left side. And whenever I want to move something to the opposite side by itself, I have to do the opposite to get it there. So let's go ahead and take a look at 1a here. Solve the equation negative 6 plus x equals negative 7. So if we run ourselves through that list of rules there, we see that variable x is good. He's a variable. He's on the left. And negative 7 is a number that's on the right. So the one troublemaker we have there is negative 6. Now, we've talked about this a little bit. The reason I'm going to move negative 6 here, the reason I'm going to add 6 there to solve, is because of what negative 6 is. The addition is attached to the x. So if you're saying, oh, well, I have to subtract here, no, you don't. If I was subtracting, I'd be subtracting x, because, again, this is attached to that x. All right, it's not attached here, all right, to this negative 6. All right, negative 6 there, that's a negative number. The opposite of a negative is a positive. Positive looks like addition, and that's why I'm adding 6 to both sides. Notice what happens there. The negative 6 plus 6 ends up going to what? It goes to 0. It has to go to 0. That's the only way this works. That's the way it's worked every single addition and subtraction problem we've done, is that's always left me with a variable and something that goes to 0. If I subtract 6 here, it's going to be negative 6 minus 6, which is negative 12, which is not at all what I want. Adding 6 on the other side as well. Remember, we have to do it to both sides there. And so I've got negative 7 plus 6, which is negative 1. We can check that. Negative 6 plus negative 1 is negative 7. Since the other side says negative 7, this whole thing checks. Okay, p plus 5 equals negative 3. So variable p on the left, that's good. And number negative 3 on the right, that's also good. The one thing that's not so good here is the 5. It's a number, it's on the left, but it's got to be on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and move 5 here. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5 from both sides here. So I've got negative 3 minus 5 on the right there. That's going to give me negative 8. Leaves me variable p on the left there. P must equal negative 8. And indeed, we can check this one. Negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. Since the other side says negative 3, this whole thing checks. C, y minus 9 equals negative 40. So again, keep your variable on the left. Variable y, he's on the left. Negative 40, he's a number, he's on the right. The one thing that's not so good about this question is the negative 9. Negative 9's got to move there. Well, if we want to talk about moving him to the opposite side, I have to do the opposite. That's always how we move something to the other side. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. The question says minus 9, do the opposite, which is to add 9. Minus 9 plus 9 cancels each other out, leaves me variable y, which is what I was solving for. And negative 40 plus 9 is negative 31. Negative 31 minus 9 is indeed negative 40. All right, here's question number 2. b divided by negative 5 equals 6. So we've switched away from the adding and subtracting. Now here we are at multiplying and dividing, but that doesn't change a lot. We're still doing the opposite. We're still going to keep that variable on the left. We're still going to keep those numbers to the right. So looking at this question, variable b is on the left. That's good. And number 6 is on the right. That's also good. The one thing that's wrong there is the negative 5. Negative 5's got to move, and so I'm going to do the opposite there, of course. That's always how I'm going to move it. Well, look at what it says. It says I'm dividing by negative 5. Well, the opposite is, of course, to multiply by negative 5. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 5. And as you can see, that's what they're showing you right here. They're even showing it the right way with the parentheses. This negative 5 divided by negative 5 cancels each other out, just leaves me b. On the right side, negative 5 times 6 leaves me negative 30. And we can check that one. Negative 30 divided by negative 5 is 6. Since the other side says 6, the whole thing checks. All right, here's b. Negative 400 equals 8y. Of course, what we don't like about this question that you automatically detected is that the variable is on the right side, but it should be on the left side. So this is one of those questions where we would probably want to go ahead and use that flip rule to solve here. And so I'm going to rewrite this as 8y equals negative 400. All right, so now that we've done that, now we're going to say to ourselves, keep that variable y on the left, which we are, and keep negative 400 on the right, which we are. So the one troublemaker we have here is the 8. 8's got to move to get him out of the way. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8, which is the opposite of what this says right now, which is that I'm multiplying by 8, y times 8 or 8 times y. And so I've got negative 400 divided by 8 here, which is negative 50, which does match up with what you see. They've just written it in the backwards order. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the story problem here, the last question before they check it out. Number 3, in 2007, a manufacturer made a profit of $300 million. This amount was $100 million more than the profit in 2006. What was the profit in 2006? So they've decided to let P represent the profit in 2006. And what we were told at the start of the second line there is that they made $100 million more than they made in 2006. So if the 2006 was called P, we can add $100 million to that to figure out how much we made in 2007. What they then told us is that the profit, the whole thing for 2007, equals $300 million. So the P plus 100 equals 2007. The $300 million equals 2007. So those two things must equal each other. And that's how we get our equation. P plus 100 equals 300. Of course, 100 and 300 representing 100 million and 300 million. So we're going to solve that equation as it's set up there. And that's pretty basic because the variable P, he's on the left, and the number 300, well, he's good too because he's on the right. So the only thing we don't like there is the 100. 100's got to get kicked out of the way here. So I'm going to subtract 100 from both sides. Here I've got 300 minus 100, which is 200. Of course, these cancel each other out because 100 minus 100 goes to 0. So the profit in 2006 must have been about 200 million. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the concluding examples here. Number 1, we're solving the equation y minus 7 equals negative 34. You can see a solution, but what we don't see there is the work that goes with it. So let's go ahead and make sure we get the work down here. We're going to go ahead and solve that guy by kicking the 7 out of the way. Why 7? Well, because he's a number, and he's on the left side of the equal sign, but numbers belong on the right side of the equal sign. Variable y is good because variables belong on the left side of the equal sign. Negative 34 is good. He's a number. He is on the right side of the equal sign where he belongs. Only the 7 is in the wrong spot. So we're going to go ahead and move that 7. So I'm going to go ahead and add 7 to both sides. Minus 7 plus 7 cancels each other out. And of course, no surprise, what we see here is the answer is the last thing we'd write. Y equals negative 27. That's the result of negative 34 plus 7. We can check that. Negative 27 minus 7 is negative 34. Since the other side says negative 34, the whole thing checks. 2. C over 4 equals negative 24 there. So again, we've got a lot of things that are good about this. Variable C, he's on the left side of the equal sign. Negative 24, he's on the right side of the equal sign. So the only thing that's not so good about that is that 4 that's underneath the C, in that we're dividing by 4. Well, that's a number, and it's on the left side of the equal sign, but it's supposed to be on the right side of the equal sign. So we're going to go ahead and fix that mess by undoing that by doing the opposite, which is to multiply both sides by 4. You can already see what the answer is, but there's the work that goes with it. Here's your negative 24 times 4, which would give me negative 96, which is my answer. And we can check it. Negative 96 divided by 4 is negative 24. Since the other side says negative 24 and the whole thing matches, we know we solved it correctly.